Welcome back. I'm so glad you decided to keep watching. In this video, you'll learn how to prepare for a dry spell financially and what to do when you find yourself in the middle of one. You know, nothing takes the happy out of your happy freelance life like money problems, and nothing causes money problems like a dry spell. That is, unless you're ready for it. So, here are the 4 things you need to do to prepare for your dry spell. Number 1, you need to save. Number 2, you need to charge a fair rate. Number 3, you need to live frugally. Number 4, you need to get yourself a backup plan. Okay, so let's start with savings. You need money in the bank. You need a cushion so that you can buy yourself time to look for more work when you have a dry spell. You need a cushion so that you don't panic and take a job you don't want when the bills start to pile up. If you're a freelancer, you also need to be a saver because dry spells are a part of the business. So, how do you even save? Well, it's possible if you charge a fair rate. So, you need to calculate a rate based on your skill set and your experience, which is fairly easy to find online in a search. Now, in my experience, there are 2 reasons why freelancers do not charge enough. The first one is that many people believe that if they undercut other freelancers, they'll get more work. But in reality, what happens is they just send a signal to clients that their skills aren't worth as much as other freelancers. At the same time, they're driving down the rate, so that in the long run, it makes it harder for all of us to survive. And taking part in a culture that really pits us against each other, and it makes us more vulnerable to unscrupulous clients. So, the other thing that freelancers do that keep their rates too low is that they will calculate their rates based on what full-time employees earn in terms of their salaries. But that's wrong too, because you as a freelancer, you have so many more expenses and you can't live on that. On top of everything we all need to pay every month, like rent, groceries, and gas, a freelancer is also responsible for office space. That might mean a bigger apartment or a bigger house. A freelancer is responsible for the equipment required to do his or her job. We are responsible for downtime during vacations and sickness. We're responsible for figuring out how we're going to live when we're retired. And then finally, there's that dry spell. Now, I mention all of this because that amount could be double what a full-time person has to pay every month. And that's why it's so important that you charge a fair rate for your services. Now, you'll notice I said 10% for the dry spell. Now, that's ideal. But if you could have at least a couple of months in the bank saved to cover your expenses for a dry spell, that's a good baseline. However, if you can save the 10%, even better. Save that 10% and it will grow, and one day you might find that you have enough to buy a new car or put a down payment on a house. You might even be able to invest that money so that money is making money and getting you closer to financial independence. Of course, I always recommend an investment advisor because saving is so important for freelancers. It helps to have someone helping you to make good decisions. Now, while you're doing all that saving, it helps to live frugally. Avoid consumerism. And by that I mean, don't buy stuff you don't need. You could save thousands of dollars a year just not buying as much stuff. Avoid debt, because if you don't have that big outlay of cash every month, it's easier to freelance. And you'll see those dollars really add up if you can do those 2 things. So you also need to prepare a backup plan. I never recommend everybody puts all of their eggs in the freelance basket, because then what happens when your work dries up? You need to figure out another way to make money. And that's okay because there are a lot of things that you can do. You might not even realize right now what you could do. I myself decided that at one point in my career I wanted to be a teacher. So I taught at a community college, and it was perfect because I could arrange meetings and I could do my work around my teaching schedule. It was perfect. You know what? I know someone else who is a dog trainer, and she does that in the evening so she can work during the day. I know someone else who finds treasures at garage sales and auctions and sells them on eBay. And another guy I know gets up when it's still dark in the morning and delivers newspapers just so he can run his freelance business. So what are you going to do? It depends what you love. What are you good at? What interests you? If you're good at yoga, you could become a yoga instructor. If you love music, you could become a DJ. It's a great time to reinvent yourself. So, are you in the middle of a dry spell right now? Because chances are you could do some things that will alleviate your financial stress. The first thing I recommend is taking control of your finances by creating a list of what you spend every month. Now, on this list, you should include everything from your expenses, like rent, right down to what you spend on takeout food. Include everything that goes out every month. Now, number 2, I want you to take that figure and reduce it. Cross out everything you don't need on that list. When you do that, you're actually making money for yourself. Number 3, understand your assets. Figure out where your money is. Is it in your car? Is it in investments? Is it in your condo? Where's your money right now? Understand how you can get to that money in case you should need it. Number 4, consolidate your debt. If you have a lot of different debts, it's time to get a bigger loan and pay off all those debts. And hopefully, that bigger loan has a lower rate of interest. That means you have less money going out and you're taking control of your debt, which is always, always a great thing. Number 5, the last thing I recommend to do is, of course, you're going to start your side gig. You're going to get that underway, but you're also going to start thinking about different ways to work in your field that don't fall under the word freelance. It might be time to consider a part-time job or a contract. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're not freelancing anymore. It just means you're making money temporarily in a different way. And it could turn out to be a blessing in disguise. For example, I know that a few years ago, a client of mine asked me to come into her office twice a week. Now, I didn't want to because I really love working at home. But I did it, and I was glad I did because I met great people. I had the wonderful benefit of having a regular income for a while, and it was fun work. But eventually that dried up, and when it did, I went home, and I was back doing what I was doing before. But the surprising thing was that I met some great people while I was there who went on to other jobs, and they referred me to work where they were, and I rejuvenated my career just by taking that job that I didn't really want in the first place. Okay, that pretty much wraps up finances. We're going to move on to your job of looking for a job. And this might be a little bit more fun than talking about money, so stay tuned.